So good afternoon everyone. See, this was the this is the diagram to show you the part that I have already discussed today in the dissection, that from where the arch of aorta arises, and from there you have the brachiocephalic trunk, left common carotid artery and your left subclavian artery. And again from the brachiocephalic trunk you have the right common carotid artery and the right subclavian artery. Okay. Now today we will be discussing about the external carotid artery. So before that we need to know some of the things about common carotid artery. Okay. Now common carotid artery, since right common carotid artery arises from your brachiocephalic trunk, it usually arises at the sternoclavicular joint area. Okay, sternoclavicular joint area, right right common carotid artery. Okay, from the brachiocephalic trunk. And the left common carotid artery, it arises in the superior mediastinum, and then it approaches upwards in its own way. But at the junction of the right and the left sternoclavicular joint, sternoclavicular joint, at this junction, both these common carotid arteries gives off its branches, that is the external and the internal carotid artery. Okay, both these arteries are being formed at this particular junction. Let me talk like this. Is it audible up to the last bench? Okay. So basically at the junction of the sternoclavicular joint, both these arteries give off these two branches. One is the common carotid artery, another one is the one is the external carotid artery, another one is the internal carotid artery. As the name suggests, the internal carotid artery will be going into the brain. Okay, so we will be discussing that part in the our neuroanatomy part, but external carotid artery and its branches come in the exam, so we will be discussing it today. Now at the junction of this sternoclavicular joint, from there the common carotid artery basically actually not bifurcates here, it actually goes more above. Okay, it basically bifurcates at the neck level. At what level? At the lamina, that is the superior border of the lamina of the thyroid cartilage. Okay, so thyroid cartilage is not the same thing as your thyroid organ. Okay, thyroid organ is a different thing, thyroid cartilage is a different thing. To show you this, see, this is your thyroid cartilage. The white part represents the thyroid cartilage, that is not your thyroid organ. Okay, here you can see this broad wings type part. This is the lamina of the thyroid cartilage. Now here comes the superior border of the lamina of the thyroid cartilage. Okay, so at this part, this common carotid artery bifurcates into external and internal carotid artery. Is it clear? And this is the same level which corresponds to the C2C3, that is your cervical vertebra. C2C3 cervical vertebra, that is the same part. Now this thyroid cartilage, since we have seen this picture, let us know about this. Thyroid means butterfly shaped structure. Okay, let me use the mic on. Thyroid is basically butterfly shaped organ. Okay, anything that is in the shape of a butterfly, we call it thyroid. So you will see that the thyroid organ, it is a butterfly shaped organ. Similarly, this thyroid cartilage is also a butterfly shaped organ. Here in the front you can see one prominence, that is the laryngeal prominence that we see here. Okay, that we call as Adam's apple. That is basically this laryngeal prominence. This whole structure basically is your larynx or voice box. Okay, so thyroid cartilage is a part of your voice box, and thyroid organ is a organ, that is a different thing. Now at the superior border of this thyroid cartilage, this common carotid artery bifurcates into your external and internal carotid artery. Internal carotid artery basically will be supplying the brain area, will be contributing to the brain. It will be having the cavernous part, then your pterygoid part, petrous part, cervical part, and your this much only. Okay, this is the branches of your internal carotid artery. Furthermore, this cerebral part will be having more branches. cavernous part will be having further branches. Okay, but we are concerned about this external carotid artery, which will basically supply the neck and the face area. Okay. Now see, the internal carotid artery will straightly go to the brain, into the skull, but the external carotid artery is not like this. External carotid artery will be having a curved way of reaching. Okay. In the lower part, it will be present anteromedially to the internal carotid artery, and the upper part it will be more anterolaterally. What I meant to say, suppose this is the internal carotid artery. So in the lower part of bifurcation, the external carotid artery will be more anterior and medial. Okay, here. And in the upper part, it will form a curved way to go anterolaterally. So from medial side, it is going lateral side. Okay. So in this picture, you can see that in the lower part, it is located anteromedial to the internal carotid artery. In the upper part, it has gone laterally. See, similarly here in this dissected body, the common carotid artery divides into the external and the internal carotid artery at the level of the neck. Here is your larynx. This is the larynx area which have the thyroid cartilage. Now coming to the various branches of your external carotid artery. Okay. Now external carotid artery, don't memorize the branches. First of all, try to understand the branches, that it will be more easy. See, posteriorly you have the posterior auricular branch of the external carotid artery, which is present posteriorly. Auricular means ear, so it will be located somewhat behind the ear. Okay, that is the posterior auricular artery. Then you have the occipital artery going in the occipital region. Anteriorly we have the face, so we have the fascial artery. Okay, anteriorly we have the fascial artery. Then we have the palatine artery or the tonsillar artery. Okay, then we have the lingual artery. So palatine artery basically supplies the palatine tonsil. Do you know where the palatine tonsils are located? Like in general, do you know where it is located? Not exactly. So when you open your mouth, you will see on both sides there are some swellings, big swellings inside the mouth on both the sides. Never without knowledge try to look into your mouth, you will be afraid. Okay. Sometimes what happens now, if you go very much deep and put your finger there, you will see some red papules in the backside of your tongue. So sometimes some people get afraid that these are some type of tumor, or even sometimes due to illness, anxiety disorder, some people consider it to be cancer also. Okay, and goes to doctor. Basically those are circumvallate papilla, which you usually don't see, but if you go very deep into your neck and see, you will see some red elevations. Those are your circumvallate papilla. Those are not palatine tonsil. And on either side, you will see some spongy structure. Don't touch it because it is very much like prone to infection. If you touch it, it will get infected. So these are your palatine tonsils. There are other tonsils also, lingual tonsil, then your tubal tonsils, but palatine tonsil is something that we can easily see. All of this together form a part of all of this lymphoid tissue. These are actually lymphoid tissues, okay? Together they form a part of a group known as Walder's ring. So now coming back to this, palatine tonsil is being supplied by your tonsillar artery. Now inferiorly you have superior thyroid artery. This superior thyroid artery will be supplying the superior part of your thyroid gland, similar to your superior thyroid gland. Okay, that is the part of your superior thyroid artery. So anteriorly we have three branches, that is your facial artery, lingual artery and superior thyroid artery. And posteriorly we have the posterior auricular artery and the occipital artery, and there are two terminal branches. These are your superficial temporal artery and your maxillary artery. Among these, all of these branches, maxillary artery has been elaborately taken in the class. Okay, Rishabh sir has taken. and lingual artery also some part has been discussed in class. Rest other arteries are not that much important. In previous year I have actually described all of these arteries, their courses, branches, but not that much important for your exam point of view. You may get one question, but that will not hamper your total marks. So not discussing it, and obviously it's not actually that much important, not from your college exam point of view, but in university if they want they can put one question, but that will never be a long question. Okay. So this is again the same picture showing the various branches of your external carotid artery that I have taken from your Visham Singh. A very complicated picture, but it being complicated shows all the branches. See here, this is the fascial artery. Fascial artery is again divided into cervical part and some other part. So here you can see all the individual arteries has been shown. These are individual arteries that has been shown here. So from this one diagram you can actually memorize the whole branches. See, this is the thyroid gland. This is thyroid gland, which superiorly is supplied by your superior thyroid artery. Okay, superior thyroid artery. But thyroid cartilage is somewhat located here in this area, that is the larynx or your voice box. Now these are the individual arteries which you don't need. Maxillary artery already has been covered. So this is the overall diagram showing the maxillary artery branches. Now coming to carotid sheath. So deep connective tissues of the neck has been covered. Deep fascias of the neck, no na? Deep fascias of neck? Next week. Okay. In deep fascia of the neck, like I am just discussing this small part before that. So the deep fascia of the neck in the lower part gets condensed and form this carotid sheath. This carotid sheath basically is a covering, okay, a fascia covering of your major vessels of the neck. It consists of your common carotid artery, internal carotid artery, then your internal jugular vein. External carotid artery is not present inside this carotid sheath. If you see here, this is the carotid sheath. Okay. This carotid sheath is present just lateral to your neck, and this carotid sheath is basically a continuation of your deep fascia of the neck, and it will be basically covering your internal jugular vein and common carotid artery and your internal carotid artery. Okay. These are the structures that it will be covering: your internal jugular vein, common carotid artery, and your internal carotid artery. This external carotid artery is present outside the carotid sheath. Okay. Now, just outside posteriorly, you can see here Ansa cervicalis. Okay, and anteriorly you have the Ansa cervicalis, and posteriorly you have the sympathetic trunk. So this Ansa cervicalis is important structure in our neck. It basically is formed by a nerve loop, 3 nerve roots. You C1, C2, C3 nerve roots. Together all of them form this Ansa cervicalis. Okay, and it basically supplies you sternothyroid, sternohyoid, and omohyoid muscles of the tongue. See, this cervical nerve roots C1, C2, C3, this nerve roots gives some nerves, and together they form one nerve loop. From this loop, various nerves come out, which basically supplies this sternohyoid, sternothyroid, then superior belly of your omohyoid, these structures. These are supplied by this Ansa cervicalis. So basically all the nerve supply of our neck is somewhat being contributed by this Ansa cervicalis. Why it is important? Because it is located behind your, anterior to your carotid sheath. So whenever you want to during your central venous catheterization or central line making that I discussed in today's class, we need to take care of this Ansa cervicalis so that it does not get hampered. Okay, so we need to know the location. That is why whenever central line catheterization is done, we use sonography. Okay, so it is usually sonography guided. Basically, a sonography machine is held there, and with the guide of this sonography machine, the catheter is being inserted. Ideally, it is the practice. Now, carotid sinus. These are basically some structures again present in the neck. Basically, it is a dilatation at the terminal end of your common carotid artery, which is basically a baroreceptor. What is a baroreceptor? It is one type. It is one type of your stretch receptor. Basically, it is like what to say. It regulates the blood pressure of our body. So whenever there is an increase in blood pressure, our body senses it through this carotid sinus baroreceptors, and it sends a negative signal. Okay, negative signal, so that the overall blood pressure reduces. That is the main function of this carotid sinus. Okay, so this is a baroreceptor. Now, one clinical condition is that your carotid sinus syndrome. Now, in some individuals, this carotid sinus is very much hypersensitive. So, it is always active. So, what will happen if this baroreceptor, which basically controls the blood pressure of our body, is always active? It will never allow the blood pressure to raise. That is the good thing, because whenever it is always hyperactive, no need of stimulation is required basically. So the blood pressure will never spike. Instead, what will happen? That person will every now and then will suffer from syncopal attack. Syncopal attack means they will faint. Okay, whenever they will wear shirt having tight collars, this baroreceptor will be stimulated and they will faint. So you will see some individuals they frequently faint without any reason. So they usually suffer from this carotid sinus syndrome. Frequently, by frequent fainting, I mean that they sometimes faint in 1 to 2 days, 3 days after. I have seen one of my colleague suffering from such type of problem. She used to faint. Okay, she was my senior, and she used to faint now and then in the wards. Okay, due to this problem. So that is carotid sinus syndrome. Now, what is the treatment? The treatment is arteriotomy. Now, carotid body. This is again a different thing. Carotid sinus is a different thing. Carotid body is a different thing. Carotid body is basically a chemoreceptor. Okay. What is meant by chemoreceptor? Basically, it will sense the lacking of oxygen in the body and the increase of carbon dioxide in the body. So to maintain the decorum of the body or the homeostasis of the body, it will be stimulated and ultimately maintain the oxygen and the carbon dioxide level in the body. So it is a chemoreceptor. Carotid sinus is a baroreceptor that controls the blood pressure. Carotid body is a chemoreceptor that gets stimulated by changes in carbon dioxide and oxygen. That will also simultaneously stimulate the blood pressure only, the heart rate only. Okay, that will stimulate the heart rate only. So that's all. External carotid artery and its branches. Thank you.